Time travel. Changing one small thing in the past has the potential to either destroy the future or correct it.
We've all seen shows like Star Trek, Doctor Who, Back to the Future, or even Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and enjoy a good time thinking through the possibilities of the science behind the science fiction. But what if I told you there really was a way to make a change in the past that will completely redefine your future? Are you interested? Let's take a look at the possibilities in this week's 5-Minute Torah. Welcome back, Torah Tribe. You're watching the channel that connects disciples of Yeshua to the eternal Torah of God. If you're new to the channel, I post one video per week on the weekly Torah portion and throw in other videos here and there on various other topics related to living a life as a disciple of our Rabbi Yeshua. This week's Torah portion is Lecha, Genesis 12:1 through 17:27, and here are the three things that you need to know about it. Number one, the call of Abram. Out of all the people on earth, God calls Abram to make into a great nation that will make an indelible mark on the world. He promises to give Abram a son whose offspring will be more abundant, quote, than the stars in the sky. God tells Abram, "Go forth from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." This is Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. Through his son Isaac and his grandson Jacob, the entire earth would be blessed, and the Messiah would come forth to ransom many from the bondage of the adversary. Number two, the mysterious Melchizedek. Abram travels to Canaan with his nephew Lot, but soon there's a quarrel among their herdsmen, causing them to split up. Lot ends up settling in the fertile land of Sodom. Not too long thereafter, Lot is kidnapped when Sodom is attacked by an alliance of neighboring kings. When Abram found out, he pursued them and rescued Lot and the others being held captive. On his journey home, Melchizedek, the king of Salem, came and blessed Abram. This mysterious figure has captivated Bible students for thousands of years, especially because Yeshua is compared to him in the book of Hebrews. And number three, the covenant of circumcision. When Abram was 90 years old, God made a covenant with him. He changed Abram's name from Abram, meaning exalted father, to Abraham, which means father of multitudes. He also gave Abraham instructions to be circumcised, and that he must circumcise every male of his offspring eternally as a sign of this covenant. God declares his covenant with Abraham as an everlasting covenant. This is Genesis 17:13, one that does not end. Therefore, circumcision, being the sign of that covenant with Abraham and his descendants, is also everlasting and continues to this day among the descendants of Abraham. Okay, I know you've got tired of me by now saying this, but it's really not too late to get started on the weekly Torah reading cycle. If you haven't downloaded my Torah Portions reading schedule for the new Torah reading cycle, you should do so right now. The new Torah reading cycle has just started, and you can join in the excitement of spiritual discovery week by week. Just follow the link in the description box below to grab your copy. Well, hey folks, Hanukkah is right around the corner, so if you'd like to do yourself a favor and me a favor, go pick up a copy of my book, 8 Lights, my Hanukkah devotional. It'll guide your family through the basics of Hanukkah. It will give you the story of Hanukkah. It will connect it with Yeshua. It will connect it with your purpose as a disciple of Yeshua, giving you something as a family to focus on each night of Hanukkah. You can check it out in the links below. This week's Torah commentary is called Changing the Future and comes from my book, 5-Minute Torah, Volume 3. At the beginning of our Parsha, we learn about the calling of a man named Abram, as we discussed earlier. The Lord would eventually change his name to Abraham, like we said, but while he was still called Abram, the creator of the universe summoned him out from among his people and into his service. He immediately left a city named Haran and headed toward Canaan, the land that God would eventually give to him and his descendants. When he reached Canaan, however, the Torah details Abram's encampments, naming them individually, beginning with Shechem. As it says, Abram passed through the land to the place at Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. This is Genesis chapter 12, verse 6. Well, the Ramban, Nachmanides, takes note of this, and he asks why the Torah records these encampments. He answers his own question by saying that the Torah is teaching us a valuable lesson, a principle of the Torah that states, Maaseh avot siman lebanim. The deeds of the fathers are portents or signs for the children. Abraham, the father of the Israelite nation and the father of faith to all those who believe, set the pattern for those who would come after him. His actions set in motion this spiritual principle. Everything he did became a blueprint for both his natural children and his spiritual children. We see this principle play out in the lives of Abraham's children and grandchildren. Both Isaac and Jacob often retrace the steps of Abraham and imitate his actions. For instance, when Abraham settles in the land of the Philistines, he tells Abimelech that Sarah is his sister. Well, this causes the king to take her for himself. When Isaac journeys to the same area, he repeats this same ruse with Rebekah with the same results. We can see this on a national scale also. Abraham fled to Egypt to escape a famine, and his wife was taken captive, finally to be released because God's judgment came upon Pharaoh in the form of a plague. Later, Israel went down into Egypt to avoid a famine and was enslaved, only to be released when God brought judgment upon Pharaoh in the form of plagues. Ramban mentions the pattern found in our Torah portion. Just as Abraham first came to Canaan by way of Shechem and then encamped between Bethel and Ai, when Joshua led the children of Israel into the promised land, they first conquered Shechem and then conquered Ai. This comes from Joshua chapter 7 and 8. We can clearly see this pattern revealing itself through the Torah, not only in the life of Abraham, but also in the lives of all the patriarchs. And if we're honest, we can also see this pattern established in our own lives. Both our choices and our actions have generational repercussions. If children look closely at themselves, they will see similar patterns to their parents being played out in their lives. These even extend to events that happen in the lives of parents long before their children. Knowing this simple principle is empowering. Well, at the same time, though, it's a frightening thought. What patterns have we unknowingly established for future generations? They're probably a combination of good and bad ones. Once we have this knowledge, however, we should become more intentional in our actions and begin working to establish better patterns that will produce the fruits of righteousness in subsequent generations. We must be ever mindful of the fruit of our actions, whether we see it in our lifetime or not. Our actions have ramifications. If we all understood this principle and made life choices with this in mind, then each generation would draw nearer to God rather than becoming more distant from Him. We have the power to change the future, but that change has to begin with us. We can't teach one thing and practice another. This was the issue Yeshua took up against the leading Pharisees of his day. They preach, but do not practice. They do all their deeds to be seen by others. This is Matthew chapter 23, verses 3 and 5. We will reap all that we have sown in the generations to come. The deeds of the fathers are indeed signs for the children, and our deeds will set the course for our future generations. Whether we realize it or not, we're planting for the next generation through our actions. Will you be planting seeds of righteousness or seeds of hypocrisy? Thanks again to everyone who helped support this channel and the work of Emet HaTorah. If you haven't already, be sure to check out last week's video on Parshat Noach right here, or my video on the first 5 books that changed my life in case you missed them right here. I'll see you next time with another Messianic insight into the eternal Torah of God. Blessings from Emet HaTorah.